reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience, The View, would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last week.
Yeah, they had nothing else to talk about. Maybe you should get the lawyer that worked on that Covington Catholic school case. Was that a $200 million settlement? I think you could use the money, and your students definitely.
When Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly team up, things get explosive, and Sunny Hostin didn't stand a chance. It was like a verbal WWE showdown, minus the spandex. In this fierce battle of egos, the hot takes came faster than facts in a heated Facebook comment war. Megyn delivered sharp sass, Charlie stirred up chaos, and Sunny, well, she was left regretting stepping into the ring. This wasn't just a clash. It was a surgical intellectual roast that you have to see to believe.
Gross elitism and her complete out of nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because voted almost 80% for the.
Sunny Hostin has perfected the art of playing the ultimate truth warrior, even though she's armed with nothing more than a plastic sword among real knights. She shows up every day with unwavering confidence, acting like she's the sole defender holding back the collapse of civilization. But the truth is, the gates she's guarding are made of cardboard, and the chaos she's fighting is little more than a gentle breeze of inconvenient facts.
Didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid and that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, are so in favor of Trump and they don't want to be called stupid or
But don't worry. The intellectual cavalry arrived in the form of Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly. They didn't need a debate stage or a face-to-face showdown to tear down Sunny's fortress of empty bravado. Let's break down how this dynamic duo delivered a verbal demolition from opposite ends of the media spectrum, all while Sunny was busy constructing castles in the sky out of talking points and fiery hot takes.
Founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of new book, The College Scam. So do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. We went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at DC says that they might be linked.
Imagine Sunny as the self-appointed moral compass of the liberal media, confidently strutting around with the kind of swagger usually reserved for those who've never had to defend their ideas beyond shouting catchy headlines on TV. Her energy screams, "I'm right because I'm passionate," which, spoiler alert, isn't the same as actually being right. She seems to thrive on rallying the troops with soundbites dripping in righteous fury, especially when targeting conservatives. But her relationship with consistency? Well, let's just say it's complicated.
What did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse, but we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this, and as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. I'm not going to let this go because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to...
Sunny has a knack for switching her outrage on and off like a light, depending entirely on who's involved. When it suits her politically, serious issues get wall-to-wall coverage with her leading the charge, torch in hand. When it doesn't, there's nothing but silence. This isn't exactly the mark of principled journalism. It feels more like a masterclass in partisan spin. She's not just a commentator. She's a walking contradiction wrapped in an oversized designer blazer. Then enters Charlie Kirk. Known for his lack of subtlety, Kirk's straightforward style is what makes him so effective. He didn't need to clash directly with Sunny or engage in a heated TV shouting match. Instead, he brought out the heavy artillery, facts, data, and timelines that tore through her carefully crafted narrative like a freight train.
She's specifically there referring to the women, but of course it's the college-educated men as well who voted for Donald Trump. And the nerve of this woman to whom the country has given so much to try to dump on people who didn't go to college. Look at your achievements. How do you like the so-called uneducated?
While Sunny painted conservatives as extremists with a broad brush, Kirk exposed the glaring contradictions hidden beneath her fiery rants. His critique was simple, yet utterly devastating. He exposed how she conveniently turns a blind eye to political extremism when it favors her side, while cranking up the outrage when it doesn't. Voting records, public statements, and patterns of behavior were all laid bare, revealing that her justice warrior persona was more about scoring points in the culture wars than truly standing for justice. The ultimate irony: the loudest moralist only waves the flag when it suits her agenda. Now, picture Charlie Kirk swinging a sledgehammer at Sunny Hostin's fragile fortress of outrage.
Hostin I think she to Binghamton undergrad, and she went to Notre Dame School, which is a great law school. Her son right now is at Harvard. That son she wants us to think is sitting there oppressed, who she's got to fight on behalf of because America is so awful to him. They're educating him right now at Harvard University. And Jason, would you take a look at this? Because I'm going to guess, I haven't been to your house down in D.C., but I'm going to guess it doesn't look like this. This is Sunny Hostin home in this shitty country that she can't stand, that didn't treat black people like Sunny well. She let People magazine feature her home. Look at this dump. This country sucks. It went to Notre Dame Law School. She makes millions on The View. Her son's at Harvard. I'm sure her daughter's at private school on her way to some Ivy League. This is where Sunny lives. And F off, America. I can't stand how you've...
Followed by Megyn Kelly calmly flipping open her receipt binder and methodically stacking up evidence like a seasoned legal pro with zero tolerance for nonsense. Kirk isn't subtle. He storms in like someone who just found a secret stash of receipts under the couch cushions. These receipts, clear-cut contradictions in Sunny's supposed crusade against political extremism. The irony is almost delicious. Sunny, who's built her career loudly warning about the dangers of extremism, somehow manages to ignore or minimize it whenever it suits her side. It's like someone who screams about the dangers of fire but never calls the fire department when their own house is burning down. Classic selective outrage at its finest. That's her message. And Kirk? He's the guy wielding the fire hose. Instead of throwing around accusations in a noisy shouting match, Kirk brings out the heavy artillery, data, timelines, and actual voting records, because nothing shuts down spin like cold, hard facts lined up in perfect order.
A liberal came to speak at University of Kentucky. They'd give an open mic like this did to a conservative and had a discussion like this.
Certainly hope they would.
No, they wouldn't. Because speech is not a swing value. That is why they have to deploy shock troops called Antifa to go after everywhere I go. When I go to University of California, Davis next week, there has to be 120 police officers because of the threats, the violent threats of liberals that want me dead, that want to disrupt our events. There are no right hecklers that come to events like this. I think it's rather clear there's one side that is trying to do everything they can to shut one side up, and one side that's trying to open up the marketplace of ideas.
He exposes how Sunny's outrage shifts depending on who's involved. When conservatives stir the pot, she's quick to light the torch. But when political extremism appears on her own team's side, she disappears like a magician's rabbit poof. No outrage, no commentary, just silence. This selective fury isn't mere inconsistency. It's a calculated brand strategy. Sunny's outrage isn't born from genuine principles. It's crafted because outrage sells. She's mastered the art of emotional pricing, where her audience's cheers are the true currency. Her moral indignation rises and falls not with the gravity of the issue, but with the political gain it promises. It's outrage on demand, not conviction. Just when you think the spotlight couldn't get any brighter, in walks Megyn Kelly, calm, composed, and armed with something even sharper than Kirk's sledgehammer, a receipt binder thicker than a law textbook, and a laser focus that could dissect a fly mid-flight. Kelly isn't here for petty name-calling or Twitter-style clapbacks. She's here to methodically peel back the layers of Sunny's media performances with the precision of a surgeon and the patience of someone who's seen one too many media meltdowns. Megyn approaches Sunny's attempts to rewrite the narrative like a seasoned trial lawyer prepping for court. Rather than getting caught up in pointless bickering, she carefully exposes how Sunny cherry-picks context and spins stories that sound convincing but collapse under the slightest scrutiny. It's like watching a magician reveal the secret behind a trick, only to discover it was just a guy hiding a card up his sleeve.
Over at The View had some choice words for Brittany Mahomes, who's married to the other Mahomes guy who plays for the Chiefs. She had the temerity to like a Trump post online, and she's been taking shit for it ever since. She wound up posting this defensive saying, God, people are like, you got to settle down. Like, be a better person and don't jump all over people for just random stuff. And here's Sunny Hostin weighing in on it.
She is in an interracial marriage. She's known that to support a racist is problematic. Her children are biracial, and her family is one of the families that in the 70s couldn't have lived in any of Donald Trump's buildings. So
What Megyn uncovers is a clear pattern, a dazzling display of moral superiority, quickly followed by glaring factual errors so obvious they could be seen from space. Sunny's takes on justice system failures, race relations, and political accountability aren't just biased, they're carefully edited highlight reels that conveniently leave out any inconvenient truths that don't fit her script. Kelly's analysis reveals that Sunny's version of the truth is more like a choose-your-own-adventure story, except every ending leads to a dramatic crescendo of outrage and moral posturing.
Hostin of The View finds out that this is fantastic. She is descended from slaveholders, is what she said when she went out on The View.
really reluctant to do because I just sensed that there could be something in my family history that would be disappointing. What I found out was that my mother's family, while they are Puerto Rican, they actually originate from Spain. And the reason that they moved to Puerto Rico is because the slave trade had been canceled in Spain and then Curacao, and then they moved all of their slaves to Puerto Rico. And so the family business, I had been told that they were printers. And
adding fuel to the fire, Megyn highlights the deep media hypocrisy woven into this whole performance. People like Sunny thrive in echo chambers, where their version of the truth bounces around unchecked, like a pinball careening endlessly. The louder the moral grandstanding, the less likely anyone is to fact-check or challenge the narrative. It's a comfortable little system where outrage is currency and facts are optional extras. But here's the twist. Kelly doesn't need to yell or throw punches to deliver knockout blows. Her calm, methodical dismantling cuts far deeper than any viral tweet or fiery on-air rant ever could. It's the quiet power of relentless scrutiny, like a hawk circling patiently before striking with pinpoint accuracy. Watching Megyn unravel Sunny's media theatrics is like attending a masterclass in exposing a house of cards without ever needing brute force. Together, Kirk and Kelly make an unexpected but unstoppable tag team. Kirk's data-driven hammer meets Kelly's forensic analysis, revealing a public persona that's nothing more than a patchwork of selective outrage, brand-driven indignation, and carefully crafted narratives that collapse under even the lightest touch of critical thinking.
You're doing the next debate, Megyn. That's a step in the right direction. Because honestly, you're going to ask the tough questions very firmly, fairly. More, that Univision person that was there a couple of days ago was just obviously had an agenda, and you're going to hold them accountable. And also, you have a really big audience of people of all different political backgrounds. And finally, Megyn, I think, and I know what you're going to ask, but I would imagine you're going to get some answers on this trans thing, which I think is a civilizational defining issue, right? That has not received any attention
by MB's.
Right?
Not a question.
Because they know it's...
While Sunny Hostin marches on with her bluster and bravado, crowning herself the champion of truth and justice, Kirk and Kelly quietly keep doing the real work. They prove that building a career on outrage without principles is like constructing sandcastles at high tide. No matter how loud the waves of moral fury get, facts and scrutiny will always wash it all away. Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly swoops in like a seasoned trial lawyer, dissecting every inconsistency without breaking a sweat. She never stoops to petty back and forths or cheap insults. Instead, Kelly does what she does best, calmly and meticulously dismantling Sunny's media performances like a precise autopsy, revealing how Sunny's attempts to rewrite the narrative often spectacularly backfire under the harsh light of scrutiny.
Revisionist media coverage of it, Charlie, just yet another reminder how important the lane you and I are in has become for anybody wanting actual honest information.
Yeah, a couple thoughts. First, that's the #1 podcast out there. And so it's not just some fringe thing. It does very, very well. It always almost near the top of the podcast charts. Or two, I just laugh when, grown talk like 15-year-old girls with their up inflection of their voice. We don't really know if they're guilty or in. It's like, it just drives me crazy. It's central casting for Upper East Side metrosexual New York Times podcast.
What Kelly uncovers is a pattern that's as frustrating as it is revealing. The real shock came when these two forces collided. Charlie Kirk's fact-driven hammer met Megyn Kelly's razor-sharp analysis, and Sunny's entire public persona crumbled like a poorly baked souffle. She aimed to be the voice of reason, the cultural gatekeeper, the defender of progressive values. Instead, she looked like someone desperately trying to patch a leaky boat with duct tape, and failing spectacularly. What made this takedown so satisfying wasn't loud insults or dramatic showdowns. It was surgical. Kirk and Kelly didn't need to mock Sunny to dismantle her. They simply pulled back the curtain and let the contradictions speak for themselves, exposing just how fragile her foundation really was. It was a demolition that was almost polite in its precision, yet left her completely exposed. Here's the irony. Neither Kirk nor Kelly ever faced Sunny head-on. There was no heated debate or on-air shouting match. Their takedown unfolded off stage through sharp commentary and insightful analysis that cut far deeper than any shouted insult ever could. The louder Sunny proclaimed her moral high ground, the quieter the room became as her arguments unraveled under calm, rational scrutiny. This was a powerful reminder that sometimes the most effective way to dismantle someone isn't with noise or theatrics, but with sharp minds and undeniable facts. Beneath Sunny's fiery outrage, there's plenty of passion, but very little principle. She's less the fearless defender of truth she claims to be, and more a performer on a media stage built for applause, not accuracy.